Rabbi Levi, I understand that you also have a role in koshering the White House from time to time. Can you share a few words about that?
Well, that one started in one of the years of the Bush administration, George W. Bush. And I'll tell you that story very briefly. They used to bring in a tray or two of kosher food, which, nobody knew where it came from or really how kosher it was, as a courtesy. And President George W. Bush made the move from inviting Jewish guests to holiday parties and making a special designated party for Hanukkah. And I remember standing there where there was a little sign saying kosher food is available at the other side of this table. The words, the available at the other side of this table, was covered with some flowers. What we found was happening was that people unwittingly had tasted lamb chops and other things that were literally not kosher. And there was a ruckus in the White House. And I remember the chief usher at the time, who had since departed, but at that time he was literally about to be devoured by the mob. And he was looking to me like as to what should he do. And I said, sir, there's nothing you can really do that's going to mollify these people. But I'll tell you what, why don't you just let it go? Suck it up for right now. But before next year, if you call me in the summer, I'll present some options to you.
Wow.
He calls me in the summer. I presented him a few options, one room being kosher, one room being general, having certain kosher plates being offered, and so on and so forth. He presented all these to the First Lady, Laura Bush, and she said, no. She says, these people coming to this party are guests of me and the president. If there are guests, they have to be able to eat, especially the president and First Lady from Texas, where hospitality is a big deal, the hearty hospitality. So they came back and they said, what would it take to make the kitchen kosher? I said, well, to make the kitchen kosher, you better ask the president if he agrees, because if he asks you for a cheeseburger the night before the Hanukkah party, he's not going to be able to have one because the kitchen will already have been kosher. Plus, I would have to oversee all the food. Well, I would have to oversee all of the food. So I said, we'd also have to have final say and oversee any food that entered the premises and was served. So they should go back and ask the president, First Lady, if indeed they want to do this. And they did. And obviously what you see there is for me having a look at them koshering the kitchen the night before. Everything is covered. They have a team of Marines that scrubs it clean. We heat up all the ovens. We kosher everything, sometimes with a flame. Then we take dishes that have been sealed 24 hours before, and we kosher them in a boiling vat of hot water. And if you look around that team, if I'm not mistaken, each one of those people is a different religion, by the way. And they cooperate completely. This story that you're looking up at the New York Times is actually the #1 story that day. A lot of people were interested in how this works, but it's been a seamless operation. We've worked with the Bush staff, with the Obama staff, now with the Trump staff. And it's been an operation that's amazing. We just don't say no to each other. I will tell you that amongst my Washington experiences, one of the most special was last year. And I will add that I tell them all the time that if I'm too strict for them or if it's too difficult, they have options, but they've been calling us back now for 16 years. So I guess they got used to it. But, every highest standard of kashrut is observed without any type of compromise. And sometimes together with our team, we've had to work till 2, 3 in the morning, 2 nights in a row, but we get the job done, always without compromise. Now, one of the most special things that's ever happened is at last year's event, and it's a big operation. Sometimes they have 2 parties for up to 1,000 people. So it's a big deal to get all that done. And I get called in the middle of the reception that I have to go behind the barrier there to where everyone's working. Now, the way we have it set up, there are 2 or 3 different layers of people working that if there's a problem, I would know about it before it would get to the level where I got to take care of it myself. And I go back there and the entire senior staff are waiting. And I figured somebody must have really messed up something huge if they needed me to leave the event and come back there. And then they pull out a bag, and in the bag is an official White House chef's coat that says my name and executive rabbi under it. After all these years of working with them, they wanted to show their appreciation, I suppose. And it was a small token. The monetary value was not significant, but the meaning of people who are either Catholic or Buddhist or Hindu or whatever religions they are, and they are all of those, learning and adapting to serving food at this level and of this level of kashrus, I guess is something which, our forebears could only have dreamt about, and here it was in a living reality.
That's an exceptional story. It's also exceptional, I think, that Laura Bush, the first lady, insisted that it be done at the highest level, and it seems to me started a tradition, so that now that's the default mode. The White House is kosher whenever Jewish guests attend. I assume that under the recent administration, given the fact that President Trump's daughter is Jewish, or son-in-law is Jewish, they're observant, things have, the Jewish standards have perhaps, or profile has been raised even more so than in the past. Are you able to share a little bit about your personal relationship with Jared and Ivanka? I understand that they attend your shul and made a point of moving close by because they're Shomer Shabbos. Can you share with us a little bit about your relationship with Jared and Ivanka on a personal level, and their commitment and dedication to their Jewish identity and their Jewish life?
I don't want to disappoint your group, but the answer is unfortunately no.
As you can't share, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because I believe once somebody steps over the threshold of our shul, whatever happens is private. They expect a certain degree of privacy. They're under enough of a spotlight, and there's enough on the internet for you to see how they observe Yiddishkeit the best they can. The only thing I'll say here is what I've said one time. I've only made one comment to the media, even though they always ask, and I got myself a little nickname amongst the media here as, Rabbi No Comment, because I wasn't saying anything about them there. I don't know why they moved where they moved, but it is only about a 7 or 8 minute walk from our shul. The only thing I will say is when they walk across the door of our shul, or into the door of our shul, they're just a couple of regular Jews trying to raise their children in the Jewish tradition. They make no airs about themselves. They don't seek any special honors. They don't want any special attention. They actually prefer to mingle and mix in with everybody else, as do their children. And I think everyone appreciates that. I mean, there is a whole security ruckus, which you cannot avoid, but that stays outside the actual shul.
That's beautiful. I think that's actually a very beautiful answer, Rabbi Shemtov. I commend you for that. Despite being very interested in learning more detail, I think it's a beautiful example you're setting for what a shul should be like, which should transcend politics and transcend, even one's professional public life. And that's really precious. And that actually brings me to an important question, which is...
I just want to tell you, that's the way they want it. And, obviously, President Trump had detractors. After he was elected, some people were very upset, especially after the papers wrote that they were coming. I didn't tell anyone, but the papers wrote that. And people were saying, you can't let them into the shul. We'll leave if you do. And I said, look, it's not my shul. This is God's shul. I only run it. And everyone's welcome here, except for people who say other people are not welcome. So if the attendance by someone who's a Jew like everybody else bothers you so much, there's nothing I can do. They haven't made any violation of law that should not allow them to be in the shul. So if you really don't like it, there's nothing I can do about it, except to say everyone's welcome. There were a few people who left, but they all came back because they realized it was ridiculous. This is not a political place. It's a religious place. Would you leave a hospital because they were in the hospital? So, and especially since they're so humble in their demeanor in the shul, obviously Corona, that's not been that much lately, but because they're so humble in the way they act in shul, always taking a second to speak to anyone who walks up to them and so forth, not being, haughty in any way, I think that proved the point and now makes it a happier, situation.
That's a very powerful teaching, actually. It should serve as a role model for Jewish communities around the world, and Jewish homes around the world, and Shabbat dinner tables around the world, where unfortunately we now have learned about the deep divides and even family, sibling rivalry that break out over politics. It seems that of late, politics has taken a much more passionate and emotional tone, such that it is tearing away in some instances at the fabric of long-standing relationships.